and a blessed day that we are here today in celebration and paying fellow tribute to our fellow veterans. And this year, one of the themes that we have here in general, we didn't really specify it, but it was called the Battle of Midway. Today, I'd like to share a little bit of my military history in that reference to that Battle of Midway, and also my military duty and how I kind of got associated with this term Midway. I joined the Navy in 1964 and signed up for 4 years of active duty. And those days is because basically there was a thing called the draft. so rather than being drafted to Vietnam, which was just getting started, I elected to join. So I signed up the Navy, went to boot camp in San Diego. That was my first tour of duty there. And then afterwards, I continued on to aviation electrical training in Jacksonville, Florida. I did 6 months there, graduated from that program. Then I continued on to my next duty station, which was in Whidbey Island, NAS Whidbey Island, Washington State. That's near the Canadian border there. And continued there working on an aircraft called the A3 Sky Warrior. It's a McDonnell Douglas aircraft, and basically it is a large aircraft that provides fuel capabilities for other planes. So we have a big tanker package in the bomb bay, and they would refuel other planes that were either crippled or needed extra fuel to continue on the mission. After 11 months of all that training, I got was stationed on a squadron. It was called Heavy Attack Squadron 8. And again, we were assigned to go to Vietnam right off the bat. So after being in the service already just about almost 11 months, I had my first taste of going overseas to Vietnam. That was my first tour of duty. I actually made three different more tours after that. That was my first tour. And they were called Westpacs, West Pacific tour in the South China Sea and the Tonkin Gulf. I was aboard aircraft carriers USS Midway on my first cruise in 1965, and then later the next 3 cruises I was on the USS Constellation. And there we were out there in the Tonkin Gulf. At my last cruise, I had an opportunity to volunteer, and by then I was getting a little tired of being in the service and going back and forth on all these tours of duty. So they asked for a volunteer to go in ahead of our squadron and our ship. And I said, yeah, here, sign me up, I'll go. So luckily I did. I was on what they call a 17-day TDY, temporary duty assignment. And I went ahead and we landed on all the little islands across the Pacific on a little 2-engine prop plane. And one of the islands that we landed on was Midway Island. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with Midway, but Midway Island is about that big, and the runway is about that big. And when you're in the Pacific Ocean and you're in a little prop plane and you see something out there, it looks like an island or something, and you land, and it is very small. I understand the guys that were stationed on that island, their tour of duty is only 1 year, then they have to be transferred because something happens when you're out there in the middle of the ocean. Anyway, as time went on, I completed my military training, and then I went to school here at COS and then eventually at Fresno State. This year marks the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Midway. On June 4th, 1942, the Battle of Midway was fought between the American and Japanese fleets in the Pacific Ocean. Midway Island is a fairly isolated island, so named because it's between North America and Asia in the North Pacific Ocean. During the 4-day sea and air battle during World War II, the outnumbered U.S. fleet succeeded in destroying 4 Japanese aircraft carriers while only losing 1 American aircraft carrier, USS Yorktown. The Battle of Midway was deemed as a significant turning point of World War II, and I truly believe that. At this time, I'd just like to conclude my remarks by just saying, as a Vietnam veteran from Visalia, California, on behalf of all my fellow veterans here, present and past, we have served our country proudly and to the best of our ability. As I believe all my military veterans, we continue the legacy of our serving our country by helping the communities with respect, honor, and dignity. Thank you very much.